dealing with a lot of other stuff, like that negativity on top of it, you'd probably not want to even try.
Right. Yeah. There's a shame. I think.
Just negative feelings.
Yeah.
What, do you something that you have you tried to explore it?
Well,
because I would imagine, like, if I was doing this work, I'd be like, oh shit, I can do this.
yeah, and I, for sure, and I will, I often pray at night, and sometimes I'll also just beam out thoughts to some of the non-speakers in my life, and hope they catch them, and there's loving thoughts usually, of course, and then there's been a few times where I'll see a non-speaker come to know and love in a dream, and they're either communicating something to me, and I'll write the parent in the morning and say, can you ask so-and-so if they were trying to communicate XYZ at all, or were they trying to communicate with me last night, is usually what I'll say, and they'll say, oh yeah, they wanted you to know blank, 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 and it will be what happened. So, but that's only happened in dreams, not in real life. Dreams are real life, but yeah. So I think the more people are open to this and practicing it, it's there. You'll get there. And a lot of teachers are able to get it back, two-way telepathy, where they can start hearing their students back. And they said, there's a teacher, and I love this story because I heard her on a podcast actually, and it was sent to me. I was like 2 years into my journey, and this teacher thought no one else in the world was going through this, and she said there was a student and he's telepathic and he can read my thoughts, and then all of a sudden I started being able to hear him back, and I'd be cooking dinner and I'd hear him, and he would tell me things, he'd just pop into my mind, and he was younger, so she had to set parameters that you can't come into my mind all the time. But she said that in the classroom then, they started being able to teach, just do the whole thing, the whole lesson without talking. She'd ask him something in his head, he'd start typing it. She'd ask something else in his head, he'd start typing it. And that was something that, like, a lot of teachers have expressed that, or speech pathologists. And I've often wondered, why is it easier for the educator, instead of the parent? And I think it's because parents put so much stuff on our kids, right? Like, if I'm watching my son play basketball and he's not boxing out and he's not doing this, I'm like, oh god, can't even watch, But if it's someone else's kids, I'm like, oh, they're 5, they're just learning, I have no care if anyone else's kid is doing this. But so I think with our kids, we put all this baggage on them, even if we're not intending it. Like, the energy is so great, where if it's just free and you're just wide open and you're just ready, I think some cool bond can often happen between anyone, but certainly, at least what my experience has been, more educators than parents, that it goes into this two-way thing.
This teacher, did they explain what the sensation was like hearing the words in their head? Like, how did they receive these things?
So at this point, there's a lot of teachers, so I have a little bit more data points on this. And for her, she was hearing a voice in her head, very clear, very clear.
Was she hearing that she interpreted as the child's voice? Was it a child's sound?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what's so cool, is for some of the individuals who've kind of gone through this will say, you just know it's their voice, even though they don't have a voice in the real world. You just know it's their energy imprint, right? This is their voice. But then I've met some teachers who are no, it comes in as a visual package, if you will, right? One of the most beautiful things I heard from a mom in England, and I think her story is great because she knew this was going for years, was scared to put it out there. She finally did. I'm not getting any younger, I'm putting it out. And then, of course, there's a lot of parents who are in England that were like, me too, this is happening to me. And she once explained it to me in the most beautiful way. She said, if you say the word Thanksgiving, you've just said the word Thanksgiving. If you send it telepathically, you receive the smells, you receive the sleeping in your childhood bed again, your crotchety uncle who's mad about that, the game of the sound of the football game, maybe snow, you're this person walking with the pie, the prayer you say, whatever it is, all the things that make your experience, that comes to you. And there's no misunderstanding what this means and feels and is, and it's this whole expansive idea. So I think she receives things that way. Yeah, it's really cool.
It's so cool, but it's also because of the cultural restrictions that we have put on idea of telepathic communication, even while you're saying this. I'm so fascinated, and I believe it for sure. Part of me is like, shut up. You know what I mean? It's like, that part of you is strong.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that part of us, unfortunately, because of all the charlatans, because of the cultural restrictions on just the concept of telepathy, I wonder how much of that holds us back. Because there's some things that you do know, and you don't know why you know them. You know?
And I think anyone who has engaged with, walks into a room with a non-speaker who can do this, which from my experience has been quite a few, it's not hard to see. It's pretty easy to witness it. And so when you experience something over and over and over again, right, it's like, are all these parents and teachers all around the world, and speech pathologists and principals and ministers and rabbis and everyone who's witnessed this lying? Did they all come in this great conspiracy to decide that, like, we're going to trick the world? Or they're experiencing something and telling the truth? And the first one is out there. That's like the most impossible thing to imagine. The other thing I want to say too is, like, there's a motivation for someone who's a charlatan, right? You want to make money off of someone or something, especially when they're the most vulnerable. You're going to exploit this, and et cetera, or it's for your own ego, your gain, or career, or whatever. You know, to date, because non-speakers have not been able to have the resources that they need to spell and engage in society, they've not been able to have a career yet. I mean, some have, but very few. Or make money on their own, or, you know, be in the popular crowd, or have some cool whatever. And so what's to gain? What is to gain? And it's also, it takes so much energy off and to spell out something. I can't imagine that you'd spell out a lie. I mean, there's nothing to gain in this entire population talking about this in silos all over the world.
Right. And also, very few people engage with nonverbal people. So for this to be this